It is late in 2025, and we have already seen CEOs bragging about chopping heads with AI. But my guest today has a much different view on how the future of AI should be. He believes AI should be a co-pilot, not a replacement. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the AI for Everyone Daily Brief. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the AI for Everyone podcast. My name is Harrison Painter, and this is the second installment in our AI leadership interview series. And today is going to be a rich conversation. I am bringing in Eliman Dambell. He is an incredible gentleman. He is the founder of an AI startup called Sayvio.ai. We'll talk quite a bit about that. But his background is 10 plus years in finance, in fintech. Now, not your typical financial advisor type stuff, but very progressive when it comes to finance and the technology and the cryptocurrencies behind that. He served as a senior broker, as a financial analyst. He has served as a financial educator, and he's even written articles for some incredible publications that I completely love, in Bitcoin.com, investing.com, FX Street, and crypto news. So he has a very unique perspective around AI because he's already been part of the hype cycle of crypto. So how do those two, if at all, kind of parallel each other? All right, well, I think that's a good intro. Let's get to this incredible conversation. Let's go. Welcome to the program.
Oh, hey, Harrison, thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to have some fun today. I think this is going to be a great conversation. We have a lot in common with what we enjoy, what we believe in. You've gone from a brokerage director in London to a crypto market analyst. We talked a lot about Bitcoin before the show, and you're now the co-founder of an AI startup. So the question I have for you is you seem to have had a really good career in fintech and finance. What was the aha moment where you said, I want to move into AI? This is where I want to dedicate the next part of my career to.
Yeah, no, great question. And it's funny, even when I was working in the brokerage, I was planning on leaving. The reason I left the brokerage was to be able to, at the time, we wanted to create like a food discovery platform called Alora, which was going to be more suggesting instead of like browsing and trying to find. Because I think what we had 10 years ago, you had, or even 5-10 years ago, you had the likes of whether it was Netflix, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, and those type of companies giving you a range of options. But you often wasted time trying to find out what you wanted to watch or what you wanted to eat. There was nothing necessarily like telling you, okay, this is what I know you're into. Maybe have Thai this afternoon for lunch instead of walking around the high street trying to find a place. So yeah, so that initially was my interest in AI OpenAI, pre-Chat GPT. And I think in the last couple of years, just like the accessibility and the innovation of these technologies made it easy to kind of explore these type of ideas.
I agree on the net, like Netflix. How many times we stood in front of Netflix and you're just flipping through, and an hour in, you still haven't picked a program to watch.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that was the interest. Like, how can AI help us be more efficient in that sense?
It is amazing. We now have endless possibilities and endless choices, but it seems human nature, we make less choices. We just get paralyzed by what's out there. Where, 30 years ago, people had 3 channels on their TV. They just didn't have to make a lot of choices like they do today.
Absolutely, exactly. It was a lot more simple, whether you're looking in terms of entertainment, in terms of course, now modern dating with like dating apps and things like that. So I think, yeah, before it was easier. And I think, I don't know, sometimes you become nostalgic and miss those times where life was simpler. But I also think there's excitement in having technologies and having more option and having more access. It's just how can we be more efficient with that access, I think is the question.
Absolutely. So you are the founder of an AI startup, and I really want to go deep with this company because you have a serious mission here, and it's Savoy, right? Pronounce it correctly?
Savio.
Savio. So tell us about the platform, what you're building, what the mission is, what problem it solves. That's the main thing, right? Anybody listening, what problem are you solving for them? And just give me that kind of elevator pitch around this product.
Yeah, essentially, it's making personal knowledge more discoverable. Just simply put, we all use notes apps, sticky notes, and often even using the likes of Notion. Wasting time trying to create templates or like having unstructured information. And I think with Savio, it was simplifying the knowledge capturing process. So in 1 minute, you can essentially onboard your ideas on a particular topic and make it discoverable. So if I wanted to find out something from you, Harrison, in terms of your fantasy football or like your knowledge on Tottenham Hotspurs in terms of your perspective on the team or whatever, if I wanted to see this information in a very structured and simple way, there's no way to do that. So yeah, I think that was the initial idea. How do we make our personal knowledge more discoverable by taking away the bottleneck, which was structuring? So yeah, we just created an AI which automatically will structure and suggest sections based on the topic that you were trying to discuss or share, and then all you had to do was input the knowledge, and then Bob's your uncle, basically.
Okay, and you brought up Notion, and I would also like to bring up something like Google Notebook LM. So, what separates you from both of those products? Because we do live in an age now where there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
but time is of the essence because literally companies like OpenAI can just flip a switch and make an AI startup completely irrelevant. So the first question is what separates you from Notion and Google Notebook LM, and how can you protect yourself from becoming irrelevant so quickly?
Yeah, I think in terms of defensibility now, I think there's two things. Firstly, it's you're looking at again like the personal aspect. Who are the people want to seek particular information from, and I think that's your defensibility right there. So if I wanted to go to Anthony Bourdain and find out his restaurant, of course, God bless the dead, but if I wanted to go to a food critic and kind of like find out their particular top restaurants, or giving me like an idea of yeah, like a personal experience, there's no way I can get that from Notebook LM. It will be more kind of like generalized. And I think with AI, what we're having now is a lot of generalized knowledge. You're kind of losing the personal aspect. So we tried to emphasize on the personability of this information, opposed to making it just generalized content.
Now, I love this quote from you, and
Mm.
and I totally agree, at least today. But you said AI should be viewed as a co-pilot rather than a replacement. So
Mhm.
explain, at least that could mean different things for different people. What is that? What that statement mean for you? What can you tell the people listening or watching this? What that means? Because a lot of people right now are scared to death.
Yeah.
They've turned on the news, the media, they're being told AI is gonna take their job. We've seen CEOs come up. We just had the Salesforce CEO come in and talk about chopping heads. Wasn't very kind in his words, in my opinion, but, yeah, explain that a little bit.
I think it's similar to what Balaji speaks about in terms of amplified intelligence opposed to artificial intelligence. How do we use AI to amplify the ideas, the knowledge, the skills, the capabilities that we already possess, and potentially expose us to new ones? So, yeah, looking at it from that perspective, amplifying rather than having a form of artificial or synthetic or generalized intelligence, but how do we boost our own level? So I think, yeah, using AI agents to help you essentially, I don't know, dictate or prompt it to do a task. I think that's like a level of of amplified intelligence, opposed to having something completely come in and replace your own capabilities? How do we grow our own capabilities and continue to improve? So I think looking at AI from that perspective, there always needs to be a human in the loop from my own perspective. I think having a human in a loop, which is amplified, is probably going to be the best solution moving forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Maybe down the road we're going to see some serious issues, but I mean, artificial intelligence isn't all that intelligent and it doesn't think. People talk about it thinking. It even says thinking on the screen, but it's not thinking, right? It's analyzing, it's looking for patterns, it's doing all those things. So I don't think people need to be too scared yet,
Yeah,
unless you have a very repetitive, easy type of job. Would you
exactly.
agree with that?
Absolutely. So yeah, when it comes to like an admin task, or so for like call center jobs are probably close to extinct if they haven't already been extinct. So I think in terms of those industries, yes, you could see somewhat of a replacement. And I know no one likes to hear the term replacement as it pertains to AI, but yeah, with those particular roles, it's inevitable. But I think there is also the opportunity for it to create new positions. So instead of having, let's say, 20, 30 call center workers, you can now have people who are prompting or creating or using LLMs to kind of like power the conversations these tools have with customers, for example. So they're increasing their own workload. I'm not sure if you've ever worked in a call center. That was like one of my first jobs. And just sitting there and taking call after call after call, it comes to a stage you're just like, oh, just get me out of there. So I think yeah, there's definitely value in AI taking those type of tasks away.
And I couldn't agree more on the call center thing. I mean, has anybody ever left a good review for being on hold for Comcast or a cable company or a cell phone company? It never happened, right? Either you're on hold forever or you'll hear people complain that it's been outsourced or whatever that is, but it's never a good experience. So why not just use AI to fix that problem that nobody likes anyway?
Exactly. It's very mundane, and I think it's an easy fix. It's an easy fix. But I think where AI, and this is where I was introduced to you, like looking at your videos, speaking about AI in therapy, for example, that's where probably AI isn't best served as far as like a direct replacement for a therapist. And I think the idea or the notion of amplified intelligence comes in. So, how do you help that type of healthcare worker improve their own knowledge base, or take away the admin of a particular type of task? I think AI could be used better in that sense, opposed to yeah, like AI replacing therapists or healthcare workers and stuff like this.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because we had spoke a bit before the podcast on that we're both kind of working on some other projects that do deal with mental health, health and wellness, things like that. So we need to touch on this topic as much as possible for people. What do you think the mental health challenges are for people in using this technology as we move forward? Now, to give you my perspective, I think right now there's more positives than negatives because I understand we've had this is terrible, but we've had some suicides, we've had some things happen that are extremely tragic through
Mm,
AI use. But on the other hand, it's opening up potential, at least a companion to millions and millions of people that might not have medical insurance or access or anybody in their life that they can even speak to as a mentor, as a friend, as an authority figure, but they can at least jump onto one of these LLMs and get something out of it. So, what do you think about that?
no, absolutely. I think I agree with like most of, if not all of what you've said in that regard. So I think there's definitely a huge problem of accessibility in therapy. Um, and yeah, having that sense of companionship, someone that you can go to and type away your. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to try and date it because it will kind of limit who it could be. But I remember I was going through a breakup, and I was in a process of like wanting to speak to my friend about what was going on. She was on the phone, so I had to just yeah, like prompt what I was thinking, because I was thinking of reaching out to this person, and I was like, okay, maybe that's not a good idea, and like usually my friend would talk me out of it. So I just went on ChatGPT, kind of like prompted like my own experience and what I was thinking of doing, and so on and so forth, and it gave me good advice. So like in that type of like ad hoc question answer kind of situation, I think it works well. But if I was using it to discover, I don't know, some of my traumas, which were potentially triggering me having those desires, or, you know what I mean, having a more therapeutic and long lasting relationship, I think that's where AI probably isn't the best, and it would be better to speak to an actual therapist or well being worker.
Yeah, I agree. I think it being an add-on to the whole process is gonna be just incredible for folks. You know, if they have a panic attack or something happens at 1 AM, they have something that they can turn to when a human might not be there for them in
Exactly.
that instance. But now it can get darker though, because we've seen videos, studies, interviews with people who have it can get so intimate where they fall in love with their AI. Now, I don't think that's very healthy.
Yeah, no, I'll tend to agree on that one. I'll tend to agree on that one. Each to their own. Each to their own. But yeah, it could work for some, but maybe not for others. But no, absolutely. I think in technology in general, I remember years ago, even in terms of video games, we had like specific narratives around, okay, you're spending too much time with the computer, you're spending too much time playing this game, or like listening to certain types of music. So I think we're always going to have naysayers or worst case scenarios with these inventions and with these technologies. And I think there just has to be yeah, I don't know, just the best, and of course, like social media as well. But there hasn't been the best moral compass kind of like integrated into these devices or these tools. It's more been used as a proponent of keeping our attention. So I think with AI, how do we learn from some of what has happened in the past to structure it in a way where whether there's limits in terms of how much you can use it in a particular day, or you know what I mean, there's like kind of like safeguards in place to stop you from just wandering down this never endless road of questions and answers, you know what I mean.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this, because you're a forward thinker, right? You've been involved in crypto and Bitcoin, now AI, and moving forward. So you're a great candidate for this question because you see things like me before other people see it. Where do you see us going in the next 3 to 5 years? You know, I would love to say 10, but I don't think
Yeah,
anybody can predict that at this point. But you know, in the next like 3 years, where do you really see things moving to for everybody?
I think there's definitely, we've already seen more automation, but I think the level of automation is going to come to a place where, oof, especially now, even they're talking about super intelligence, 3 to 5 years, they're talking about 1 to 2 years of SSI and AGI. But I think there's two ways to look at this. Yes, like what would you like to happen, and what do you think is going to happen? What I would like to happen is to have AI and these technologies take us to a place where we're having access to information, to resources, to just being more efficient to levels that we haven't experienced before. But where I do think it will take us, if we're continuing at the speed without the safeguards in place in certain respects, again, the likes of use cases or verticals like therapy, um, it could be worse in the sense that we may be exposed to more unfortunate kind of like situations and spirals and things getting out of control where people are more dependent on these devices, and again these tools and resources aren't necessarily best placed to advise us on certain stuff. So I think we do need to see more safeguards preventing us from reaching that space in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
So you just moved here recently from England, and England's going through a lot of the same stuff it
Yeah.
appears that America is. Do you think AI can help us kind of bridge this political divide? Do you think is it gonna tear people farther apart, or do you think there's a potential it could bring us together?
The hope it does bring us together. I think everywhere you look at, there's a divide. But how do we kind of, yeah, I think, yeah, to still man, how would I put this? So there was a moment I started writing just like a series of short stories to kind of emphasize essentially our differences, but also our similarities in a sense. Yeah, you might have different political views. You might have grown up in a certain place and viewed certain people or ideas completely different. But you would have potentially gone through something similar. So, how do we kind of highlight those similarities? Of course, there's always going to be the differences, but how do we kind of like unify as humans to kind of be like, okay, I completely disagree with your perspective, but I see where it's coming from. So I absolutely believe like AI could help in that regards, whether it's education, or even creating environments where we can kind of, yeah, be challenged, and exposing ourselves to ideas and things again that we haven't seen or been aware of, to help put the other side of our own kind of like biases to the front, so at least we can kind of yeah, just be more sympathetic to each other. I think, yeah, that would be the best way to kind of like answer that question. How do we be more sympathetic towards each other, and how can these technologies allow us to do so?
Yeah, because I think everybody has bias, of course, it's just a human thing.
Yeah.
But what I've been doing is I actually have a project set up where I can put some of my voices, my recordings, my writings, all those things in, and I'm looking for patterns
Mm.
of racism, bias, whatever in my language that I might not realize is there. But
Mm.
are there some kind of patterns that I can look at and learn from and just improve myself over? And I think that's where AI could be a huge benefit because we all the way we were raised, we all say things or do things that to us might not be offensive, or
Yeah.
even if we do business in other places, right? There's a lot of things we can do in New York or Indianapolis that we can't do in Tokyo, right? It would be
Mm.
so I think just learning from all of that is just gonna make us better as a whole.
Absolutely. And even as you're saying that, giving that example, I can just imagine like now me prompting any LLM, let's say, I don't know, list the top five biases or stereotypes people have when traveling to a certain place. And from that, I can kind of, you know what I mean, just have an idea, because I may not have been aware and might unintentionally kind of like create some of these stereotypes or biases. So yeah, it's easy to kind of like have access to that information and learn, okay, this may be offensive to this type of person, or this may, you know what I mean, like create this type of dynamic. Of course, depending on who you are, you may completely ignore that because that's just who you are. But I think for those of us who do have, yeah, I don't know, kind of like our moral compass again, like headed into the right direction, it's a way of us like onboarding that information and using it to do better.
Absolutely. So I wanna pick on your experience in cryptocurrency.
Mhm.
Because hype cycles. We saw it in Bitcoin, right? You saw a huge bump up, and then you saw the huge crash, and then it's been kinda coming back ever since, right? So there's always a hype cycle with technology, with anything like that. Where do you think we are with AI? Some people think we're super early. Some people think we're way up in the hype cycle. Where do you see where we're at? And you have something you can compare it to.
Yeah, I think, let's put it this way. Where do you think? I know you were talking about being an avid subscriber of Bitcoin, but what's your best case guess for the price? Like, where do you feel like it could potentially end up?
Bitcoin?
Yes.
$1,000,000 for sure. It's gonna hit $1,000,000. I have
Okay.
no doubt.
Okay, so we're 10% away from that. So yeah, I would say AI, you're probably looking at more 8% of where it could potentially go and lead, because we haven't even seen, of course, we're starting to see it, but not like rolled out to the point where you're seeing humanoid robots walk down Park Avenue. Uh, or you know what I mean, replacing dog walkers or like things of that nature. So we haven't even like scratched the surface. So I do still think there's a significant upside. in the next 10, 20, 30 years in terms of AI. And similar to you, I think with Bitcoin, Ethereum, the main kind of or the top tier of the cryptocurrencies, yeah, I do still think there's waves, right? And I think I remember when you were saying pre to the conversation around 2017 is when you really started to take a closer look at this. And I remember writing an article. It was around Christmas when Bitcoin first it went to like 11K, then it came down to like 3 or 4K. Then I wrote an article because at the time it was I'm sure you'll remember it was like Tottenham were playing Ajax in like the Champions League final or like sorry in the semi final and they came back. They were like 3-0 down and they came back. And Liverpool or another team had like an insane comeback. And the whole aim of the article is, are we going to see a similar comeback from Bitcoin after like having that drop? And of course, from 3K now we're like almost 130K. So absolutely, there's going to be a significant upside. And I think with crypto, with I beg your pardon, AI, you are going to see that volatility, even if it's not necessarily quantifiable as like the price of BTC or the price of ETH. You are still going to see like yeah, like a huge significant um, swings and roundabouts. And I think it's how do you kind of flow through that volatility and just break out that ceiling to use like a technical analysis kind of like frame.
All right, good stuff, man. So we're going to do a rapid fire round in a minute, but before we get there, I want to go back a little bit to um, Savio.
Mhm.
Who is the perfect person that should be using that platform? Like, whoever's listening right now, we definitely want you to go. I'll put the website here on the screen, but who is the perfect person that should go over there and use the platform?
You you
Me.
creators like yourself, educators, because in a sense like even this type of conversation there's a lot of ideas that we've kind of put to the forefront, whether it's talking about crypto or it's talking about AI or it's talking about therapy. Crypto, I'm sure someone listening to this would potentially want to hear your direct perspective of BTC since you were relatively you've been in it 10, 15, 20, you know what I mean? So yeah, you would be a perfect user of Savio and people who want to share ideas on very specific topics. In terms of what we're trying to do with Savio, again, it's knowledge capture, and what we're doing now is creating a vertical or an offshoot of Savio, which is Ferrano. And we're mainly trying to work with therapists and well-being practitioners to just simplify the onboarding journey of their patients in order to improve accessibility, because now what you're seeing is a lot of insurance companies this is like a historical question, historical problem, insurance claim denials. So how do you improve the infrastructural of what you're doing in order to reduce claim denial? So I think that's the main segment that we're trying to target at the moment in terms of Ferranote. But I think in terms of Savio, which is more generalized, you would be a perfect person to use it.
So again, I'll put that website down here on the screen. So rapid fire round. Are you ready for this?
I am indeed.
Favorite AI tool outside of Savio?
Oh, I'll probably say Perplexity. It has to be Perplexity.
Most underrated crypto?
Oh, underrated. Oh, good question. On my own portfolio, I'll probably say I would still say ETH, to be honest, even though it's second. I think in terms of where it's I would still say ETH. I'd still say ETH. It hasn't been getting as much love as it should.
All right. A disclaimer: this is not financial advice for entertainment purposes only. What is one book or resource that has really shaped your thinking? It could be a book that you read a long time ago, or that you refer back to, or something you've read recently.
Two books, I would say, in terms of startups. I would say Steve Gary Blank, Four Steps to Epiphany. And even though now he somewhat could be described as the Antichrist, I still say Zero to One. Peter Thiel's is a great book for entrepreneurs.
All right, two more. Hardest lesson learned since the launch of Savio.
Be more specific. Be more specific and already factor in distribution. So I think we definitely operated a lot in generalities to start with, and sometimes I think it's helpful to do so. And as you narrow down and like find out more like your core user base or your core problem, so I would say try and already factor in distribution and be as lean as possible.
I agree. That's a challenge as a founder, right? I just pitched my beta product to somebody the other day, and it's too complex. It's too complex, right? You got to simplify it and build on top of that. But like there's so much we want to do, and there's so much now that we can do, and that's a paradox that we get into.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, last rapid fire thing. Finish the sentence.
Mhm.
The future of AI is
Efficient.
efficient. I love it. I told you that was going to be a rich conversation. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that subscribe button, like button, bell notification. I have so many more guests already lined up. This is going to be such an exciting series. I'm learning just as much as all of you are. So this is going to be an incredible journey. And I am so honored to be doing this with all of you out there. Thank you so much. The channel is growing and all of you are just fantastic. And I'm just having a ball. So thank you all so much for this. All right. Well, our time together has come to an end. My name is Harrison Painter. This has been the AI for Everyone podcast. And until next time, keep creating, keep innovating, and most importantly, keep up. God bless.
NVIDIA sparking, AGI unleashed, Jensen tearing down walls, the future's a beast. What? Humans built this world, but AI breaks that mold. There's a supercomputer with secrets yet told. We're committed to the rise, training 1 million people under analog skies. No shadows here, we're running out loud, living for the moment, standing out in the crowd.